Hello, welcome back to the Board Games 4K YouTube channel, and this is a channel where we talk a load of crap about board games, card games, role-playing games, and we give you reviews and all that sort of stuff and playthroughs all in a lovely 4K resolution. And in this video we'll be talking about a game that's sort of a little bit old but not that old, and it was a Kickstarter a few years ago, and it sort of gained a bit of a reputation for being quite a good game. And I think today we'll be talking about Stockpile, and this is a stock market manipulation game where you'll be investing money in companies hoping to manipulate the stock market with some insider information to reap the benefits and end up with the most money at the end of the game. So in this video we'll be telling you what we do like, what we don't like, and then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Stockpile is still worth playing in 2019. And if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to our channel, leave a comment in the relevant section down below, and we'll see you after this. Board Games 4K. So in this video we'll be talking about how to play Stockpile. We'll also be talking about the expansion that's available for this one, called the Continuing Corruption expansion. And in this game what you'll be doing, there's 6 phases of this game, and it plays over a series of rounds depending on how many players they're playing. So if we done a run through of this one, made a few mistakes along the way, but you know, whatever. And you can go and check that out. If you check out the playlists on our channel, you can go and look at that. And so the first thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be given 2 different types of personalities, each with a special ability. You'll choose one and discard the other one, and that will give you a special ability for the rest of the game. So you might have say like some bloke called Bill Gates who's got more money than everyone else. You might be Donald Trump, who allows you to sort of bid less than what you're actually bidding on. Or there's loads and loads of them. There's more came with the expansion. So what you'll be doing, there'll be 6 phases to this game, and the expansion introduces these things called bonds, and you can buy bonds for a certain amount of money depending on how many players there are. You can buy up to 3 bonds at the beginning of each round. You get $1,000 back at the end of each round in interest, and you have to sell your bonds at the end of the game for the price that you pay for them. So it's a sort of a way of making money throughout the game, but tying up that money permanently in the game so that you can't use it to bid on the market. So the first phase of this game is the information phase, and you'll be taking a certain number of stock market cards, and you'll be placed one face up on each of the calculators at the bottom of the board, and this will give you some public information in the game. And also what you'll do, you'll deal 2 cards from that deck to each player. And in the next phase, which is the supply phase, what you'll be doing, you'll be choosing one of the stockpiles that's going to build up, and you'll place 1 card face up on one of these stockpiles, and you'll place 1 card face down. So that sort of gives you a bit of public information and private information. So the next phase is the demand phase, and what you'll be doing on this, you'll be placing your meeple on one of the calculators, and you'll bid a certain amount. And if there's another meeple on one of the calculators, and you always have to bid more than that person, and then they'll take their meeple off, and when their turn comes around again, they'll either outbid you or go somewhere else. It's a bit like that Cyclades sort of mechanism of sort of kicking somebody out of one spot, forcing them to go somewhere else, or maybe overbidding to kick somebody out. Once everyone's chosen one of the calculators or been forced to go to a 0 spot on the calculator, then you'll pay the relevant costs, and you'll also pay any of the taxes or anything like that that you've accumulated. Yeah, there may be some sort of commodities in there if you're playing with expansion, because you always deal 1 to each player, and then they put 1 out on one of the stockpiles of their choice. So you might get commodities which sort of, it's like a set collection thing that you trade in at the end of the game for a certain amount of money. Once all the bids are settled, you take all your stuff, you'll pay your taxes, you put your commodities in sets, and then you'll place any stocks that you've bought on the left hand side of your portfolio board. So the next phase is the action phase, and this is where you'll take care of any action cards you may have accumulated in that round. So you can have stock boom and stock bust, which means that you can move the stock counter either up to or down to on a stock of your choice. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to have the opportunity to sell some of the stocks that you've bought, and you might think that some of the stocks might tank depending on how the stock market moves. If it moves down towards the trash can, then that means the stock's going to tank, and you'll lose all the cards in your portfolio of that stock, or if the stock moves up towards the split, you're more likely to get more money for your stocks. So this gives you the opportunity to either to get rid of the stock that you don't want, or to sell some stock that's worth a lot of money, because obviously the public and private information is going to change the way that the market looks at the end of the round. So the next thing is that you're going to take care of the movement phase, and this is where the stocks will move up and down depending on what cards the players have. So you've got some public information where you've got one company and it tells you where it's going to move, and you'll do that last. So you go around in turn order, and then everybody will manipulate the market depending on what they were dealt at the beginning of the round. So what you saw when you were doing the selling phase may not be the way that the board looks at the end of the movement phase. So if a stock tanks, then you discard all the cards out your portfolio. If a stock splits, you'll move any stock that you've got in the standard side of your portfolio, you move it over to the right hand side, and then when that stock pays out dividends, when you sell it, it's worth double the amount. So there's various other bits and pieces in the expansion. So you've got the option of using dice to set the market up rather than use cards. Yeah, there's more personality cards that are available. You've got the commodity cards, and that depending on how many players there are, there's going to be a certain amount of rounds when you get to the final round. Game finishes, and then you top up all your money, then you take care of your commodity cards, and you flog your bonds back to the bank, and whoever's got the most money is the winner of Stockpile. So what do we like about Stockpile? So the first thing that we really like about this game is it's got a nice mix of public and hidden information, and that comes together in a really, really good manner, because forced into thinking, is more public information enough to take a gamble, or maybe take a strong punt on one of these stocks that is going to pay out, or maybe I want to sort of build up that stock and sell it for a decent price. Or this again, this ties into the fact that the turns are very short, because all you're doing is you're chucking a card down onto one of the stockpiles, and then gathering up your stock, you're playing an action card, and the turns come around really, really quick. Sometimes, depending on how many players are, we play with 5 players, and there's only 5 rounds with that one. So the game sort of, even though it took us a couple of hours to play it, the turns seem to come around really quickly, and everyone's sort of involved. So another thing that we really like about this one is the expansion for this one is pretty much sort of essential, but you don't have to play with it all because it's all modular. So if you want to chuck the dice in, you can do that. If you don't want to play with the personalities, you can leave them out because they're an expansion for the base game anyway. But yeah, the commodity cards, you can chuck them in, leave them out if you want. So even though the expansion is kind of essential, its component parts are also optional. So another thing that we enjoyed about this is that the way the market it operates is not directly tied to the player. So you might have a stock in your portfolio, you're building up to flog, or you might be building it up to keep hold of it so it generates income when it pays out dividends. So even though you're buying shares in stocks, they don't belong to you in that sense. You're not sort of trying to nurture the stock, you're just trying to make a quick buck. You're trying to you might want to sort of get in, get out, or you might want to hold on to that stock just so it generates income. So the stock isn't actually directly related to the players and what the players do. It sort of takes on a life of its own, and you've got to sort of just put your fingers in the right pie at the right time, and that's really exciting. And it's a nice, the risk reward element of this game is absolutely top notch. So what don't we like about Stockpile? So the major thing about this, and it's not the base game, it's it's to do with the expansion, and that is the commodity cards. They're optional, which is a good thing, but I think they're overpowered, because if you're lucky enough to end up with get the stockpiles with those commodities, and you get 5 or 6 of them, that's an astronomical, it's a game-breaking amount of money at the end of the game. I think if you get all 6, which isn't impossible, you end up with $48,000, and that could be the complete difference between making or breaking a game. When we play this again, I don't think we'll be playing with them, because it's such a radical shift. I mean, if you end up on 1 or 2 of them, that's fine, but if you manage to just get hold of 5 or 6, the fact that people will be looking at that thinking, I'm not going to put them in there into that stockpile. I mean, that's for something that's just placing a card on a stockpile. It's a massive sort of shift between what would have been something quite lucrative and something that isn't worth that much. So yeah, commodity cards, way overpowered. So second thing that we don't like about this is, especially with the expansion, there's just so much information, you know, sloshing around in this game that it's very, very difficult to make any kind of reasoned judgment as to what's going to go up or go down. I mean, it's not even a case that you can even start to think, you know, make some informed choices, because there's so much information. And you know, you've sort of sat there thinking, you know, what round is this? I mean, a lot of the rounds are called certain phases, and it's very, very difficult in your mind to think, well, the demand phase is this and the supply phase is this, and a lot of the cards sort of refer to these things. So because there's so much information flying around, it's very difficult to sort of make sense of which way the game's going to go and make a logical and reasoned gamble, I suppose, based on the information that's available. I mean, it might be the case that you might want to take out a few of the modules from the expansion, but why would you? If that's the case, why would you want to buy the expansion? So we just chuck it all in and then hope for the best. But again, that does make your sort of head hurt. And there was occasions where I was just sat there thinking, oh my god, where am I? What am I doing? So yeah, so too much info at any given point. So Stockpile, should you play this game in 2019? We think that this is an excellent stock market game, and this doesn't require any kind of numerical skills at all. It doesn't require any sort of knowledge about the stock market or anything like that. You can just pick this up, read the rule book, and once you get the 6 phases into your brain, then it flows quite nicely. I mean, maybe a tad too long for what it is, but the fact you've got this hidden and public information, it keeps it tense and everyone's focused on the game. And when we played it, it was just that bit where you sort of start to get into it and then the game's over. But getting to that point, it just seemed like, I mean, it says on the box 45 minutes, no way 45 minutes. So yeah, it takes a couple of hours to get through this one, maybe an hour and a half if you played it a few times. And yeah, but it's definitely one of a kind. There's not really much else like it. I mean, the only other game I could sort of even remotely compare this to is Panic on Wall Street, which has got the sort of the shifting stocks, but that's more of a party game. So if you want a nice sort of strategy game that keeps your mind ticking over, is tense up until the last moment, and you don't know who's going to win because a lot of the money that you're going to generate at the end of the game isn't declared, then Stockpile is probably the game for you. And we'll give this probably like a 7 or 8 out of 10, maybe a 7 out of 10 without the expansion, and if you've got the expansion, we give it an 8 out of 10, because it is a unique experience. There's nothing really quite like it on the market today. So that's Stockpile. So if you enjoyed this video, if you thought it was informative, if you thought it was crap, then please tell us down below. Consider subscribing to this channel for more board games, card games, role-playing games, stuff in 4K, and we'll see you next time.